September 1984. The Cold War had reached fever pitch. Soviet forces were massing along the Iron Curtain, and NATO's worst nightmare scenario was becoming terrifyingly real. In the largest military deployment since D-Day, 131,000 American troops would descend upon Britain for Exercise Lionheart, a full-scale rehearsal for World War III. What unfolded at Southampton docks and across the British countryside was nothing short of organized chaos that pushed logistics to the breaking point. The invasion begins. Southampton docks had seen plenty of military traffic, but nothing like this. Within 72 hours, the port transformed into a steel and canvas fortress as ships disgorged an entire mechanized army. M1 Abrams tanks, Bradley fighting vehicles, self-propelled artillery, thousands of trucks, helicopters, and enough ammunition to level a small country. All had to be unloaded, organized, and moved inland, without grinding Britain's infrastructure to a halt. The numbers were staggering. 131,000 personnel, 19,000 vehicles, and equipment weighing over 100,000 tons. Dock workers operated around the clock in 3 shifts, but even their experience couldn't prepare them for the sheer scale. Cranes groaned under the weight of 70-ton tanks. Fuel tankers created miles-long queues. The logistics staff worked from hastily erected command tents, coordinating a symphony of controlled pandemonium, using maps, radios, and increasingly frayed nerves. When planning met reality, the British public had been warned about disruptions, but theory and reality rarely agree. Country roads built for tractors suddenly hosted columns of armored vehicles that tore up pavement and crushed centuries-old stone walls. Village traffic systems collapsed as military convoys snaked through medieval streets never designed for modern warfare's machinery. Local authorities reported traffic jams stretching 15 miles. In one notorious incident, an entire tank battalion took a wrong turn near Salisbury, blocking the A36. For 7 hours, while commanders frantically consulted maps and argued over radio frequencies, British Rail faced its own nightmare. Military transport trains had priority, delaying civilian services and stranding thousands of bewildered commuters who watched endless flatbed cars carrying camouflaged war machines roll past empty platforms. The logistics nightmare behind the scenes, something more dangerous was brewing. Exercise Lionheart was exposing catastrophic flaws in NATO's war plans. Quartermaster units struggled to track equipment scattered across hundreds of square miles. Communication systems designed for American infrastructure couldn't interface properly with British networks, creating information black holes. Units arrived at staging areas to find their supplies hadn't, or worse, had been delivered to completely different locations. Fuel became the crisis point. The American armored divisions consumed fuel at terrifying rates. A single M1 Abrams tank gulps diesel like a small car drinks water, but at 100 times the volume. Fuel convoys couldn't keep pace with demand. At one point, an entire brigade sat immobile for 36 hours, their mighty war machines reduced to expensive steel sculptures, while fuel trucks navigated hopelessly clogged roads somewhere in the English countryside. The unbelievable reality, what made Southampton truly unbelievable, wasn't the scale. It was the revelation of how unprepared NATO actually was for real war. Military analysts who reviewed Lionheart delivered sobering assessments. If Soviet tanks had rolled westward during this chaos, the deployment would have been a catastrophic failure. The logistics tail couldn't keep up with the combat teeth. The infrastructure couldn't handle the load. The coordination was barely functional under exercise conditions. Actual combat would have shattered it completely. Yet Lionheart also proved something vital: NATO's determination to make it work. Through exhaustion, improvisation, and sheer, bloody-minded persistence, those 131,000 troops eventually deployed, exercised, and returned home. The lessons learned about infrastructure limits, communication gaps, and the hellish complexity of moving armies led to complete overhauls of NATO logistics doctrine. The legacy Southampton docks returned to normal. The tank tracks faded from country roads, and Britain breathed again. But Exercise Lionheart remains legendary in military circles as the moment NATO discovered its Achilles heel wasn't firepower or courage. It was the unglamorous, unforgiving mathematics of moving mountains of men and metal across an ocean and expecting them to fight. The Cold War would end without that feared invasion, but those who witnessed Lionheart's controlled chaos understood a profound truth. Wars aren't won by the side with the most tanks. They're won by whoever can get those tanks where they're needed, fueled, armed, and ready to fight. In September 1984, that revelation arrived with 131,000 troops at Southampton docks, and it was unbelievable indeed.